think it's frustrating when people of the older generation talk to us and they're like, you just have access to any fact and anything you want to know. Like, information is just so frequent, you can just Google anything you want.
As though it's a bad thing?
No, my thing is, you know what? I can't find out if bananas are good for you or bad for you because we live in a generation of over-information. I can't find the right information. You can type in anything, just, you know what? Type in anything and then right after that put causes cancer. And you're gonna find an article that is very convincing that thing causes cancer.
Okay, here's a Google search for you. Let's just try this. You at home,
Do it.
You're already using your phone to listen to this, so if you're not driving, pull it out, keep the podcast on, go to Google, type this in verbatim. Salsa makes go blind? Question mark. Let's just find out.
But that's the thing. We're not in the generation of information. We're in the generation of over-information. I can't find the truth about anything anymore.
I hear you, but also what frustrates me is when it's like, oh, you can just Google the answer to anything and you know anything immediately. And it's like, yeah, that's amazing.
Yesterday I Googled, should I eat breakfast? And
you're gonna find so many different ones.
Every single hit
did you
that
mean,
it returned.
Stop. Did you mean in general, like was the you, the metaphorical, the metaphysical you, should I eat breakfast? Or was it like, me, Doge, like, should I eat breakfast today?
I woke up and I was pretty hungry. And I didn't know if eating breakfast would be a good healthy decision or
You were hungry.
a fat boy decision.
No, but
If you're hungry, you've already gone into starvation mode.
That is something that I can't verify on the internet.
Me neither. I'm spouting something I read. It's not
true.
I don't know if it's true.
We don't know what's true anymore.
Hello, and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk, our movie podcast where we give pumps and dumps. My name is Jordan Wonders, and I am your chunk.
I'm Doge, and are you the god of chunks?
I'm David. Are you the god of hunks?
What? Whoa! I cannot stress enough. This was unplanned. Grab your space pants and get ready to fly, my friends, because this week we're talking about Thor Ragnarok. Doge, tell us about this movie. In other words, hit us with that synopsis.
Thor Ragnarok tells the story of Thor
and Ragnarok.
And Ragnarok. No, it's good. No. So basically, in this movie, Thor comes back from adventuring. He's been adventuring for about 2 years, looking for Thanos and Infinity Stones and
colorful Infinity Stones.
So he comes back from adventuring to find that Loki is on the throne of Asgard. They go to find Odin, who is on Earth. Odin dies.
Glitter death.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cribs from Yoda. It fades like Yoda. But Odin dies, and their sister that they didn't know about until now, Hela, shows up. She is Hela-bent on conquering Asgard.
Love it.
Thanks, you guys. And then they're traveling back to Asgard. Thor and Loki fall out of the Bifrost beam, crash land on Sakaar. Thor becomes a gladiator, fights against his friend from work, the Hulk. And then Thor and Hulk kind of team up to break out of Sakaar and go back to Asgard and stop Hela by unleashing the fire demon Surtur and causing Ragnarok, which is the utter destruction of Asgard.
Apocalyptic event.
Exactly.
That ends Asgard.
Exactly. So in terms of plot, this movie is really paper thin, which is okay.
Yes.
Because it's super fun.
And it's comedy.
And
Yeah.
right off the bat, I'm going to say, I think weirdly enough, and I'm probably equally shocked to find myself in this position, I think I'm going to be unfairly biased in favor of this movie in a lot of ways.
Really?
I can confidently say that at least for me, this is the most fun I have in any Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I remember leaving this and saying, I think this is more fun than even Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Really?
This movie is, and I think that's why I say I'm going to be unfairly biased, because, and I mean this in a good way, not in a cheap way of excusing poor writing, because the writing is brilliant, but not in a cheap way of excusing poor storytelling or anything. But like, this movie put plot in the back seat for fun, but did it intentionally.
Yeah.
Did it in a way that reminds me of these unapologetic action movies that have been coming out in the last 3 years that I'm so thankful for because they stopped trying to shoehorn
You're talking your Mad Max. You're talking your Baby Driver. You're talking your John Wick and Wick 2.
Absolutely. These movies that said, rather than trying to shoehorn in plots that don't fit with what's happening just to make people interested, we're just going to unapologetically and without holding back deliver on some awesome things.
And have some pretty paper thin plots. Like John Wick is literally, you kill his dog, you kill
I'm gonna kill everybody else.
Yeah.
And
But it's
you
totally
know
cool.
what? I love it.
It reminds me of like the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies that I used to watch with my dad on like TNT
Dude,
or whatever.
it's a return back to the Die Hard of it all.
It really is.
It's a return back to
the Die Hard of it all.
Nice. I didn't intend for that, but you're absolutely right.
Hey, you just got to claim that stuff.
John McClane it.
Yep.
So anyway,
Keep going.
you talking Nakatomi? Sorry, that's as far as I got.
Talk about the Nakatomi plots of this movie.
Nice.
The plots. I actually said that like it was an Italian dish.
But I just want to
Nakatomi plots.
I just want to go ahead and preface beforehand. I know that I'm probably going to jump to the defense of a lot of things in this movie. I'm okay with it.
Hey, as long as you jump down his throat, like you guys
please,
jump down my throat when I defend things.
No, for sure. I will. No, I'm
Just tag
already
team it.
there.
Jump down my throat equally. It'll be great.
Before we talk about this movie, I want to talk about something that Marvel did, which I don't know if they've done before this movie or.
You talking about what
ever
Taika
since.
did?
Yeah. But they did during Civil War, right after Civil War, they did a straight to YouTube, I think, clip.
Yeah.
That was like a 7-minute clip. And it was
Of
just
actual Chris Hemsworth.
what was Thor doing during Civil War? And it's an actual Marvel sponsored, like,
it's
Taika
like
Waititi
official.
directed. Here's what Thor was actually doing.
Yep.
It's part of the MCU, and
There's another one. There's like a part
There's
two
two.
of that.
Yeah, there's two.
Yeah.
And it's
One of them's the action figures one, right?
no, that was just an Instagram thing.
Okay, maybe that was what it
fun
was.
too.
Yeah.
But it's Thor. It's Chris Hemsworth as Thor hanging out in Australia with his new roommate Daryl, just trying to like just cool down and shit and have a summer off.
On the board, like a crappy like marker drawing of Thanos. And he doesn't even mention it, but on the board, there's just a list that says things we know. 1, likes to sit in his chair. 2, question mark. And there's nothing else on the list.
Nick Furry, or is it actually pronounced Furry?
Yep.
And I like when he goes, here's a little Mjolnir. What's he holding in his hand? A little me. But the thing I regret about my viewing of this is I didn't think that was the tone going into Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, because Thor had not previously set up that tone as a character or movie series.
I feel like and maybe it's just that I had seen Ragnarok recently a couple of months ago when we were watching Thor 1 and Thor 2.
You saw more of the comedy?
I felt like, I don't know that I saw it, but I felt like it was there. You know what I mean?
too.
Like I felt like Chris Hemsworth was trying to pull some of that stuff out. I do want to
You
just,
talking about in the first two?
the first two. I just want to pump on his comedic timing. Like he is so funny.
So again, Taika Waititi said that when he came to set that he wasn't sure how he was going to get some of the humor in, met with Chris Hemsworth once and was like, that dude might be the funniest person in the MCU and nobody knows.
Yeah.
Because Thor is always so, aha!
Yeah.
And he was like, but what if we made the ha-ha the funny part?
Yeah.
And play up the surf bro from space.
Yeah.
And thus Ragnarok is born.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great because, at this time I wasn't watching any trailers for MCU movies.
Yeah.
So I went in with no context to Thor. And so similarly to Guardians 2, I had this kind of, I don't know how I feel about this because I was expecting a Thor 3, the darker world.
Yeah, sure.
The darkest world.
I'm the dark elf.
Yeah. And seeing Ragnarok, it threw me off. And seeing it again, I loved it way more the second time. And you told me it gets better every time.
I watched it yesterday. It was my 5th time to watch the movie.
But going back through the MCU, I have seen the comedic timing of Thor and kind of seen little, tidbits of gold that Taika, I think, was able to pull from.
What I've noticed with Thor is that he is 10 times better when he's playing off somebody else who's kind of the straight man.
Yeah.
Somebody else who's kind of being our base and our grounding so that he can, because I mean, the highlights of Thor 1 are when Jane is confused as to what he's doing, and he thinks that what he's doing is normal on Earth.
I really thought you were about to say Darcy. For some reason, I just had
Darcy is so
I had
great,
this
man.
pathological fear that you were going to Darcy.
The highlight is Darcy, dude. No, and there's no Darcy in Ragnarok, thank goodness.
Yeah, that's the best part of this movie. Can that be my super pump?
But let's get into this movie because I'm so excited.
All right, so we start off this movie and we see Thor dialoguing to himself, and we meet Surtur.
Yeah. I just want to stop you already and pump on. I remember the first time I watched it, I thought he was addressing us, the
I thought he was
audience.
talking to camera.
And then the slow zoom to just the skeleton.
Yeah.
That was my first laugh of the movie is in the first 5 seconds of the movie. And that's a good sign.
Well, there's something that's happened in the most recent MCU films where in the first 10 minutes of the movie, they show their hand and just say like, here's what you're getting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something I need to realize now.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming out of these movies confused, but they're showing all of their cards.
Yeah.
And I think
being real
I've made
upfront
this
with
reference before in La La Land where they made the opening musical.
Yeah.
And that huge
On the
number.
highway.
They were basically saying like, hey, if you're not going to like this,
Just go ahead and get out.
you can just leave because you're not going to like the rest of the movie. And you have him dialoguing to himself, which is hilarious. And then you have the, what's the song?
Immigrant song.
Immigrant song. In the
It's
opening
so
fight
perfect.
scene. It's perfect.
It's so perfect.
And it sets the stage for this entire movie. And Taika Waititi, to get this role, we were talking about this earlier, he basically, when they were trying to choose a director, he patched together a bunch of Thor's clips from other movies and put the Immigrant song behind it and said,
show
I
the
want
tone,
to do a fun Thor movie."
Really?
Yep.
That's super interesting.
And I just want to say that for me in the theater, the moment where he is hanging from the chain and calls Mjolnir, grabs it, and then the Immigrant song starts, and we follow Mjolnir around the room as it destroys. That was the moment where I was like, I think this is going to be like
That's such a
something
fun
special. Like I think
sequence.
this is going to be different.
Yeah.
Well, he goes back to Asgard, and we get a fulfillment of what ended in the Dark World, which is
I was impressed by that.
Loki is Odin.
Yeah.
And Odin's just gone. We don't have any mention of
He was banished.
Loki
By-
sent him to Earth.
Got it.
Essentially.
Okay, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why he was on Earth.
And we get the incredible portrayal of Loki's death on this Broadway stage.
By
for-
Matt Damon,
Yes.
the third Hemsworth brother, and what's that guy's name? It's not Christopher Plummer. What's his name?
It's the dude from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but it's so good.
Yeah, the guy who he plays Odin in the thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And that makes Jeff Goldblum and the dude from Jurassic Park have a little Jurassic Park reunion.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the same movie.
I doubt they were on set at the same time.
Well, and
I hate to break all
Anthony-
your dreams.
so I just want to say real quick before we move on too far, I found myself thinking while I was watching this yesterday, I was like, that's crazy. Anthony Hopkins really only had to film the stuff out on that cliff because like in the first half it's really Loki. And then I was like, no, he still had to film to be.
He is so, I mean,
That's how deep we are in the MCU. It's part of our reality.
I feel like it's just stating the obvious at this point to say that Anthony Hopkins is an amazing actor.
Yeah,
but
sure.
That's a fairly uncontroversial opinion. He does so well as Loki
It's
Odin.
true.
Like,
Yeah, he really
it's
does.
Totally different
It's
than
so
real
true.
Odin.
Oh, it's so
I
good.
remember in the theater being like, what the heck did they do with Odin? Like,
Yeah.
this isn't him. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, shoot. I'm such a stupid idiot.
Sorry, we skipped right over Scourge.
Scourge.
In the Bifrost. Carl Urban.
Yeah, it's true.
And I remember the first time watching it thinking that he was going to be such a stupid character, and he ended up being one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Got these from Texas.
So I just want to go ahead and say huge pump on Scourge and on Carl Urban. I love both of those things individually.
Can we want to talk about Scourge?
Yeah.
So I love the opening of Scourge. I
Yeah.
love how he got different relics from Earth. He has
So
he has a
good.
shake weight. He has rifles. But later when Hela comes and she basically destroys all of the old Thor characters that we knew in a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
I actually didn't super love that.
I don't either.
I didn't love the death of the Warriors 3 and the absence of Lady Sif.
I'm down with the absence of Lady Sif if it means we can get more of her later because she's the best of the Warriors in my opinion.
Yeah. I hate how just like split second over it was. It was like, oh, these are Thor's like best friends in the world, like huge supporting cast members in the previous two, and they're
Yeah.
just essentially dying off screen.
And their death never really was addressed. Like Thor never mourned them.
Yeah.
But I will say, watching it over and over again, as I have, I laugh now every time because it's just like, it feels like an acknowledgement of like, we know they're in the story, but they're gone now. Just so quick of just like, remember these guys and they're done.
I feel like they did this multiple times in Ragnarok with the Infinity Gauntlet. She's like, fake.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're just destroying like, oh, Asgard, fake.
Yeah.
No, oh, this history of Asgard, you've been told, fake.
It was a little bit like the beginning of The Force Awakens, where like the first line is, hopefully this will begin to set things right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're talking about Jar Jar.
Yeah.
But it was a little disorienting at times. We're
Yeah.
just like, you set this up and it's kind of immature at some level to just like rip it away and be like, you thought that was real? And you're like, yeah.
Stupid
And
idiot.
are you essentially saying that Scourge's turn to like flimsy henchman role was going to be too quick? Is that what you were kind of saying?
No, back to good.
Oh yeah.
It was one of those things where I to this day don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Because I never for a second thought that he was going to stay evil the whole
Right.
time, and part of me felt that he should have.
Yeah.
Because I smelt the final redemption sacrifice from the moment he switched sides,
Absolutely.
and I was just like, I don't want to be able to read it that well.
I hear you, but that being said, his moment at the end is so fun.
With the gun.
When he just pulls it out and dives out, it's so good.
It is a good end of the puzzle piece that we get at the very beginning of the two guns
yeah.
from
Des
Texas.
and Troy.
Question. Oh, I forgot about that. That's so good. Question. Is he dead? He dies, right? Like that's what we're led to believe is that's like
I think
fully
so.
sacrificial.
He jumped off the plane
And we
to
never see him
Ragnarok,
get back
and
on.
Ragnarok gets blown up. so
You
I'm
mean
assuming.
Asgard, but yeah, no, I'm
Sorry,
with you
Asgard.
though.
Asgard gets Ragnaroked.
It
Yes.
gets Ragnarok.
Ragnar rock and rolled.
But Thor can sense that that's not Odin, that's Loki. He changes him back to Loki, and I want to dump on Loki's hair. It looks very painted black. Do you not notice that?
I was gonna pump on Loki's hair. I think he looks really cool.
I think that's
Were
a
you
really,
No, but I didn't
think
notice
Loki's hair is like a really cool haircut for guys to have. So like I like it.
It looks very fake to me. This is the only one where I was like, they totally powdered his face.
Sure.
And they blacked his hair hardcore.
And now that we're here, I want to just say, instead of getting bogged down in this beginning part of the story, I want to jump to the search for Odin, Doctor Strange, get to Hela, and then get to the good stuff.
I want to do a pit stop dump. Doctor Strange's costume in this movie looks terrible.
Oh, yeah.
All of it.
I
Like,
actually didn't notice anything.
I think it looks so bad. It's like a way brighter blue and
Okay,
all the
it
same
is.
color blue, and his cape just looks weird.
It was a
and he's
little
got
Captain America
like,
Avengers 1.
Those dishwasher gloves
Yeah.
on. Like it's just the whole thing is like looks like. I think they did a way better job in his movie, and they should have just used that same costume.
That being said, though, I love the whole scene in the Sanctum Sanctorum. I love.
It's fun. It did feel unnecessary.
Oh, it totally felt unnecessary, but I guess to me, this movie is a lot of unnecessary. Like this movie just felt like it was just like, that'll be fun. Let's do that too.
Which maybe feels like watching this movie again. It is so fun, but it does feel really meandering up until we meet Hela.
Yes,
Where it's just
it
like,
does.
What is happening? Like,
Well-
we're just kind of farting around until we meet Hela.
And I have found myself before thinking that it would be an equally good movie if the intro was shorter and we didn't get the title sequence until they go back up on the Bifrost with Hela chasing them and get kicked out.
Yeah.
And that we could essentially cover all of the beginning stuff in roughly 8 minutes instead of 20.
Yeah.
That being said, we would miss out on a lot of really fun moments. But I hear what you're saying where
Because that's Act 1. Really, the act break is when they're going up back to Asgard and they get kicked out. Like, Act 1 is the search for Odin. Act 2 is Gladiator planet. And Act 3 is Asgard and Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And Act 1 is like almost longer than Act 2. And that's why this movie just feels so like misbalanced.
And it definitely does. And I completely agree with that. But I just want to say, in Doctor Strange's house, there are two moments that I think got played really well that could have been really dumb. One was Loki falling through the portal at the end and landing on the ground.
Yeah.
And I think that could have been so stupid. But Tom Hiddleston, of course, huge pump on Tom Hiddleston.
I've been falling for 30 minutes.
and his escalation, the yell, it's all perfect enough to dodge the cheese and make it really funny. Yeah. But then the other is the sit down conversation between Thor and Doctor Strange. I think they could have played up like either they could have gone too far either way of like, we're so different, we can't understand each other, or like, we're not so different, you and me. But instead, I think they really just stuck to the meat of things.
Earth has wizards now.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, yeah.
And the giant like beer stein
Yeah,
is
yeah.
good.
one of the things that watching back, the first time I saw it in theaters, it was pretty obvious to me that Chris Hemsworth was really just shaking himself.
Yeah.
But after it happened like 5 or 6 times, it got
funny.
funnier and
Yep.
funnier.
Yeah, I completely
Like, it was clearly not an effect at all. It was just, they were like, all right, and go. And he was like,
every time he knocks over the bookshelf on like the third or fourth one, and he just like pulls an entire bookshelf off, I giggle.
Yep.
Let's maybe jump to Odin and Odin's death in that whole scene.
Yes. I loved when I saw Odin again. I felt like I was refreshed with Odin.
Why did Odin die?
So that's a big thing.
Great question.
There was no real reason for it.
Yeah.
Although I do, after many rewatches, I noticed that they really played up how much he missed
Frigga?
Yeah. And so I'm wondering if it was almost like I miss her, it's my time, you boys are ready kind of a thing. But then he also comes right back and is like, but as soon as I die, the worst thing ever is going to happen. And so it felt weird.
Yeah, they didn't really explain the reason for his death. And maybe I think there might have been backstory, Norse mythology, things that we could
well,
read
that's
into.
the thing in like traditionally Odin doesn't die. He just goes into the Odin sleep like he does in Thor 1 and regenerates himself.
Which is why I think it's less die and more like releasing his mortal coil, like more like ascending into the mist of the eternal universe. It really doesn't make sense.
Which works if he's a god, but in the MCU, they're
He's
not
more an
gods.
alien.
They're
Yeah.
aliens.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And I also want to say, I really hate the effect, like huge dump on the effect of like gold dust particles.
It is
But
cheeseball city.
actually, my super dump is here.
Really?
It is.
Give it to us.
And it starts here and continues in some ways throughout the movie. It's weird. It's the green screen effect of the ocean behind them.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they're standing on the cliff, it looks truly terrible. Now, when the camera is facing where Hela comes in and there's mountains, that looks fine.
Well, they actually shot that in an actual field.
Right. But when it's behind them, you can tell that it's like there was no ocean here.
Yeah.
Or if there was, it was like a fishing village with people and they had to get rid of
And the
that.
wind was someone like,
Right.
Somebody's blowing their hair.
And I hated that. But there are just a few moments in this movie where, because I think overall the effects are really incredible in this movie.
I think the character effects are really good.
Yeah.
I think the environmental effects are very bad.
In some places, I completely agree. There are some moments where I can tell they spend a little more time on practical stuff, but I agree. I think the background CG is messy, and that's actually my super dump. I think that there are moments where it's almost like it slowed down too much, where I started to look at the background of things.
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel like the Gladiator Arena did not feel real.
Yeah.
The Rainbow Bridge does not feel like it. Those things very much feel like they were filmed in a green screen box.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll just add it later.
Yeah, I agree with that.
well, and it doesn't explain Odin's death. Can you explain Hela's entrapment? Or I guess not entrapment.
Nope.
Yeah, how is she trapped? What is her plan?
To return to Asgard.
Sure, she draws power from Asgard and hasn't been there in forever, so we see how strong she is now.
She wants power.
Yeah.
So why does she? So that we're to believe that's the reason that she fights off the fire demon at the very end in Asgard is because she wants that power, even though there's nobody there on Asgard now.
No. She literally grows stronger by being on Asgard.
So she's destroying the fire demon.
Because if
At the
he
end.
destroys Asgard, she has no power.
She has no power. What's she gonna do when he's destroyed, though? You know what I mean? Because she can't. What you're saying is she can't leave Asgard and maintain power.
No,
she's stuck on a planet with no power.
No,
with
I think
people.
I think it's more like go fill up your tank, go use your power, come back, fill up your tank.
Asgard is the lantern of the Green Lantern Corps.
That's at least how I got it from.
Yeah.
I feel like that was not super clear in this movie.
Yeah.
I was able to get there because it talks about her conquering other realms, or I guess we now might think them as planets. Which,
I was able to get there because Odin literally says it.
No. I know he says that, but I'm saying
He says she
being able to lead.
she grows more powerful, but like that feels like insufficient motivation to me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and I hear that. I guess for me, what I was watching was like she comes in so strong already that like I think the fear is think of how strong she'll be when she's stronger.
And what was she trapped in?
I don't know.
And why did she
pocket dimension,
Why did
probably.
she break free wherever Odin was?
Yeah.
Like, why was she in Scotland Or where were they? Was it
Norway, wasn't it?
Norway.
It
I'm
would
pretty sure
make
it's
sense for
Norway.
Norway. Why did she appear in Norway and not on Asgard, where I'm assuming he trapped her?
Yeah.
Like there's a couple of things that just didn't really make sense.
Well, and we're kind of abandoning the whole like Bifrost is the only way to travel between realms.
we lost that.
Well, but
movies
we
ago.
also know that it's not because other people do it just by space travel, essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's presented to us as the way to get to Midgard from Asgard, and then whenever Thor talks to Loki in Avengers, Loki says the Allfather must have had to conjure some dark magic to get you here, and then like by this point they take the Bifrost to Earth. Hela just teleports.
To be
Some sort of
fair-
weird teleport.
With dark magic.
Is it dark magic?
She's evil and she used magic, so yeah, I'd say probably dark magic.
I just feel like there's some things like that it's maybe that the plot is. Those elements are probably too heavy for this thin of a plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like we
no, I
need
agree
a
with
little
that.
more explanation for some of these things.
I agree with that. However, in full contradiction, enormous pump on Hela for this boy.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett, she could do anything, I think. I really do.
The character's well acted. I just don't really like the character that much.
Oh, I do. I think her powers are super interesting.
I think
What are they?
Infinity swords. Like that is literally her power. And I love it because it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like I remember being like, that's the dumbest power, and I can't stop watching her. Her power is literally just like, I have as many swords as I need to do anything that I need to do.
She was weirdly reminiscent to the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
What was her name?
You talking about Enchantress?
Enchantress.
In her look, especially.
Yeah.
But
But with no like wiggle dance.
she, not the wiggle dance, but definitely the walk, and the
Yeah.
slick back hair
Yeah, yeah.
with created
But-
the horns. But I think it worked well.
Because I was gonna say, here's the thing. I believe Kate Blanchett as like horrifying eternal presence. Like
true.
Yeah.
when she shows up and was like, don't you know me? I was like,
Yeah.
no.
That's a good question. Don't they know her?
No. They find out about her on that cliff.
I know those
Which makes
two.
no sense.
I'm talking about Asgard. How does Asgard?
Yeah,
not
no,
know
it
her?
feels like historically they should, and I feel like they made it a point to be like, he buried the history, but somebody's got to be alive that
Yeah, you're
remembers,
like,
right?
so
Yeah,
is Odin the only person that was alive back then?
yeah.
What happened to the rest of she killed all the Valkyries, right?
Well,
Except one.
we'll get
So
there.
what happened to everybody else in Asgard?
Yeah.
That was like, Odin, I know that's not true. That painting that Asgardian Michelangelo just did on the ceiling of your throne room is not true because I remember yesterday when Hela was here.
Yeah.
Dump on that.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry, no, you go ahead.
Well, it just reminds me of, again, the thing we've talked about, which is we've gotten so far in the MCU that you can either choose to make new stories or go back and introduce stories that we haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
Which I'm cool with because I love those prequel stories. But there's something that just is off-putting about being like, you thought that was it?
Yeah.
And you're like, I mean, no, I knew there was more. And it was like, everything you know is a lie, son. And you're like, but you told me it was the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I get that we're in the same situation as Thor. Like
Right.
we're learning this.
Which I appreciate because it doesn't treat the audience as dumb for not knowing.
Yeah. But there's still just something off-putting about basically bulldozing everything that we've
Yeah.
set up to this point.
Well, but also this is, I think, another example of the theme of Phase 3, which seems to be sins of the father. And
Love
Odin's
that.
sin is not revealing the nature of how things really work to his kids.
Yeah. And I love that she says, and then all of a sudden he tried to be a benevolent king out of
Yeah.
nowhere. And I love that Hela's conflict with Odin is that's not the Odin she knew, but Thor knew it. They knew different Odins.
So then the theme of this movie should be that you're able to reinvent yourself after a catastrophic mistake, right? Yeah. Like that's Odin's journey. That's what we're supposed to believe. If we're to side with Thor and say, no, that's not Odin. Odin is a benevolent king. He did the wrong thing earlier, but he has changed himself now. And he's essentially second chances. It's a second chances movie.
Yeah.
How does that play into Thor's arc? How does that play into...
I would disagree that that's the theme of the movie, though.
What is the theme of the movie?
I would say it's similar, but I would say that the theme of the movie is almost, again, I loosely for sure, it felt very from father to sons to me. There's a big circle back at the end of
Like a handoff.
Odin brought us
story.
together. It makes sense that Odin would tear us apart at the end. And to me, what it feels like is is right my wrong for me because you're better than me. You're the better version. I mean, they even make a point at the end to say, no, you're stronger.
Yeah.
And so I think that to me, this movie
Like
felt
Black
like a
Panther
theme.
almost.
Yeah, but right my wrong means defeat Hela.
Well, defeat Hela and save Asgard from itself, essentially.
I mean, we're getting to my super dump, which is that I don't really feel like Thor has an arc in this movie.
Okay.
I don't think that Thor learns or grows in this movie. Thor is pretty static. Like he's, just like you said, he's space surf bro at the beginning. And he's like, he just finds out new information and then continues to be space surf bro.
Yeah.
And through the power of his space surf broiness and a super secret third act new superpower reveal, he saves the day.
Sure.
Like to me, he's a weak character. He's a fun character to watch.
Yeah.
But in terms of story, he's a weak character in this movie.
Yeah. And I agree with that. It's flimsy.
Yeah. Let's talk about
Let's get to Sakaar, please.
Yeah.
Good grief. That's where the best stuff is.
Okay, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Is there ever a moment in this movie, I was watching for it and I didn't catch it, but maybe I missed it. Is there a moment in this movie where anyone at all addresses that the Hulk talks now? Does Thor say ever, oh, you talk now?
I don't think so.
Huge, enormous dump on that.
I was confused the first time I watched it, and after talking to some people, basically Taika Waititi's explanation of it was Hulk has always been an infant stage because he hasn't been Hulk very long.
Yeah.
So he's, the minute he turns into Hulk, it's basically Hulk as a baby, but it's baby Hulk who's just like, ah!
Yeah.
But he's been trapped as Hulk for what, 3-4
2 years.
2 years.
Is it 2 years?
Yeah.
So he's a 2-year-old in the sense of he can formulate words and sentences, but not very much.
Yeah.
But he's growing and aging as Bruce Banner would.
Yeah.
So I think we needed that.
We needed that
Like
for
we
sure.
We
needed a
did,
moment
but we
of-
also, in my opinion, it's, and I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying it's a very similar thing to Guardians 2, never really addressing that Baby Groot is not smaller version of original Groot, but it's
That's a good
actually,
point.
I think it's
truly
actually
Groot's
super
baby.
different than that though, because we've made it a point in the MCU to
Are you personally attacking me? Or?
we made it a point in the MCU to paint Hulk as this animalistic, out of control
Yeah.
force of nature, and this is totally 180 to that. He's a thinking, reasoning individual in this movie.
Yeah.
Even if there was something of Banner watching highlights of the Hulk, and like there's like a post-match interview or something with the Hulk, and Banner goes, "Oh, he talks now."
Yeah.
Even that would have been good, but I think the fact that we don't address it at all and just go, somebody will figure it out,
Yeah.
is a big miss for this movie.
I agree. However, opposite side, same coin. Love the new Hulk.
Oh, for sure.
Super pump for me is
No
talking
way!
fun gladiator Hulk. I love Hulk in this.
Dude, so great. Tell
Yeah.
us why. I want to hear your reasons.
He's just such a freaking fun character.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. And I love the effect on his voice. I love that it's not like a super generic monster effect, but it just sounds like deep, slurry Mark Ruffalo.
Well, and it actually is now finally Mark Ruffalo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it not Lou Ferrigno? Lou Ferrigno's not any part of it anymore.
Nope. He's completely out. Every aspect of Hulk is Mark Ruffalo now.
Lou, man. That
Did I
sucks
just
for
call him
Lou.
Luke Ferrigno on accident?
No,
You said Lou.
Okay, thank goodness.
Hulk like raging
Can I-
fire.
There's more fire. Can I coin a term, if you will?
Yeah.
Aggressive innocence is how
Yeah.
I would describe Hulk in this movie.
Yeah.
He's just so capable of destruction, and yet is just so, you're not my friend. You're not nice to me. It's so fun. It's
Yeah.
that dichotomy between the two that makes it a lot of fun to watch.
So, do you guys think? Well, actually, I was going to ask about Infinity War, but we'll save that for
Wouldn't It Be Nice?
Yeah. Well, they get to, is it Sakaar?
Sakaar.
Sakaar. And we've heard Sakaar before, haven't we?
Sakarians. We've heard of people from Sakaar, which
they
doesn't
didn't
make
look
sense because it
anything
feels
like-
like nobody originates on Sakaar is what it feels like.
Yep.
And the Sakarians didn't look like these
Okay.
fun.
I have a
colorful
question for you.
beings. They were like,
Yeah.
They look like Chitauri.
Yeah.
Are the people in this movie Sakarans? And those aliens are from a different planet called
Sakaria? Maybe. That could be it.
hey.
I have no. I mean, I think
confusing.
what it is just a huge oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they said we need a planet to name these aliens from in Thor: The Dark World. And they're like Sakaar, perfect. And then they didn't realize they were going to use it later.
Yeah. But we're introduced to Sakaar, and we're introduced to the president, basically, of Sakaar, which is Jeff Goldblum, who is so close to being my super
Almost
pump.
my super pump.
Yes.
He's
Almost
really
my
great
super
in
pump.
this.
He's
Yeah.
so great.
For me, the moment was as soon as he's DJing. When he started, when he's
and like
at
playing
the
that keyboard.
I was just, and then in the ship at the, and when it's my birthday, dude. I have looked up the YouTube clip of just the "It's my birthday" so many times. I think it's so funny,
I think it's so great that Jeff Goldblum's in the freaking MCU.
dude. His whole demeanor, everything he does to just like, can I scoot closer? And he's just. Hey, baby, what's up? Like that whole thing.
He's the Jeff Goldblumiest thing
Yes.
of all time.
They were just like, can you just play you? Would that be okay?
Can you play you times a million?
The melt stick. I mean, literally every scene he's in, I'm like, yes, he's so good. The grandma from Moana, when he's like, when he says,
What?
did you not know that? Yeah,
No way.
straight up, that is the grandmother from Moana.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
What does it say about me if I kind of thought the grandmother from Moana was voiced by a man?
You should talk to her about it. But when Valkyrie comes in and turns over Thor and he says, what do I always say about her? It starts with a B. Remember, she's trash.
Trash.
He's like,
Were you just waiting to call her trash?
It's so
I mean,
great.
everything about that
Yeah.
is it's three things. It's perfect Marvel humor.
Yeah.
It is the epitome of Taika Waititi. Like that's everything that he strives for. And it makes me giggle every time
Yeah.
without fail. Love it.
We're introduced to him. We're also Thor kind of crash lands and is about to get taken over, but is saved to then get captured again by our character Valkyrie.
Also, almost my super pump.
See, I liked Valkyrie the more the movie went on.
Yeah.
But my introduction to Valkyrie was so stupid.
She's this movie's version of Aquaman for the first like
At the beginning,
little bit
yeah.
that she's on screen. She's just like, I drink hard and I'm kind of silly, but mostly I'm BA.
when
and
she
her-
fell off the ship, I was like, boo.
Also, don't love that. And don't love that for the first 30 minutes she's on screen, she acts completely and wholly with her neck. Her body doesn't move. And she's just like, this
true.
is how I show
true. She does walk- I
I
emotion.
didn't even notice
She
that.
does walk a lot like
and,
that.
and it drove me nuts. But somewhere along the way, and I think it's when she finally joins them on their quest out of Sakaar.
When she joins the Revengers.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
she joins the Revengers, from that point on, she's one of the best parts of the movie, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, she's great. And I understand the storyline of she's drinking away her pain.
Sure.
But I didn't get that.
Not
No.
at first, and the reveal felt a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with that completely.
So again, I that's why I can't even really say like, oh, love Valkyrie, because it was really just the end parts of her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe getting excited to see more of her. But in this movie, Valkyrie was
Yeah.
more of a dump for me. Than
I don't
a
really
pump.
care for her.
And I'm huge pump for me. But again, mostly because of the second half.
Yeah.
However, I do want to say, call me crazy. It's fine. I'm personally, I ship them hard.
You ship them hard.
Thor them hard.
Thor and Valkyrie.
It's a thing.
You want a relationship.
Yeah,
Got
it means
Yeah.
that it means that you want
David
them to
did
date.
say that.
I ship them hard. Yeah, it's like a kid
Ship them
thing.
hard. Cool.
Dude, I'm waiting for it. I want it so bad.
I'm not like
Nope, I want it.
Thor
I'm not
is in
shipping
like
them as hard.
a Bruce Banner situation for me where it's like, he could have a relationship, he could not have a relationship. I don't care at all.
I think I just like the idea of him having a girlfriend that is probably tougher than he is, and it makes me laugh.
Yeah. We're introduced to her, and we're back on Asgard, and Hela is basically taking over Asgard, and Asgard's about to confront her with
Sure.
her entire army. And I have a dump, which is to this movie, to this date, we can't figure out what kind of Asgard technology we have for their weapons.
Yep.
Yeah.
It went back to medieval. They were like,
I did.
we will fight you with spears. And I'm like, where'd the electric swords go? They fought the Dark Elves.
To be
Where were
fair,
those
if
big
they're
turret
intentionally
guns?
going to retcon anything, Thor the Dark World would be the one that I would
Oh,
choose
for
to just
sure.
knock out of the way.
But even you go to Thor 1 and they were beaming people, and you're like,
Yeah.
what the heck
Yeah.
is going on
But
with Asgard?
if I'm being honest, up until they return, the Asgardian story is so boring to me that I would love to just spend some more time talking about Sakaar.
No, it's great. But I just thought of that dump.
No, you're great.
And I needed
It's
to
a
go
great
there.
point.
Because if that is their technology, that doesn't make sense because you're like, they've been to other planets. They see the guns. Like, what are we doing with Scourge still, guys?
Well, and Scourge has the rifles.
What did you guys think of the skeleton army that Hela
Oh,
had?
can I
Loved.
dump? Can I dump?
Please dump. I also didn't like it.
You want to pump and then me bring you down to this defense?
Yep.
You pump.
You want me to pump first?
You pump and then I'll poop on it.
we'll be
giant
at zero.
wolf, the giant wolf, and the Draugr army are both fully based in Norse mythology and
They
have
are.
reason to be in the movie
For sure. Cool.
Yeah.
And I think that it is a really cool way to really let Hulk and Thor and Valkyrie and others really hurt some people without being like, you're killing innocent people.
Yeah, which kind of seems like a cop out at times.
Definitely is.
Where
It
it's just
does.
like, oh, thank God the evil people look evil because I do not want to feel
We've gotten
bad.
that now with Chitauri, with Ultron bots, with Whiplash
Right.
bots. Like that's becoming kind of
But to me, there's a story reason for them to be there because nobody wants to fight for her. That's her whole thing. She's saying, join me. And everybody's like, I'm not going to join you. So she has to raise her own army.
I just didn't super love the effect of the skeleton army.
I thought they looked cool.
I think it looked like something from the live action Scooby-Doo movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
First,
Which are maybe my favorite movies of all time.
Probably my favorite superhero is Scooby-Doo, for sure.
I'm a real Scoob head.
first dump. Every time we go into Odin's treasure room, whatever element we need in that moment, that's the strongest one there.
And there's
Yep.
different stuff in it every time.
Every time there's different stuff. And she's like,
Yep.
oh, fake. Oh, stupid. It's like,
Mine's real.
yeah. And
Yep.
she takes the fire of
The Eternal Fire.
eternal fire of flame.
And does a super tight CG backflip, like quadruple CG backflip down into the tomb.
And she's like, I'm gonna bring to life my old army that's been dead. And I'm like, okay, so they're gonna like come back to life as people. No, they're gonna come to life as skeletons. But my wolf, who's also a skeleton, is gonna come back as a wolf.
Yeah.
Was it a skeleton?
His skin
Really?
is like rotted off of his head.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so why didn't the people come back with skin and how they used to look? So the wolf is brought back to its regular form, but these humans are brought back to skeleton.
Can I just say that
people.
the wolf's tight though?
Wolf's
Wolf is
tight,
cool.
but it doesn't make sense. And if I was a skeleton, I'd be like, really? This is how I have to live my life? Well, can I be like the wolf?
I guess I super do write that off just as like that's a real thing in Norse mythology. Like both of those as they stand and as they look are a real thing in Norse mythology.
Right. But
so it doesn't bother
but
me.
why would Fenrir the wolf?
No, I hear you. I'm
his name, right?
with you.
Fenrir?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
It just doesn't bother
But
me.
taking something from Norse mythology doesn't mean you don't have to ground it in logic now.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And Fenrir in
It
Norse
just doesn't bother
mythology,
me.
he's just a giant wolf. He's not a Draugr wolf. And what she's done is create a Draugr wolf. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Wait, what's a Draugr wolf?
It just doesn't bother me.
Draugr is the skeleton.
The skeletons are called Draugrs, and then the dire wolf is the house-sized wolf.
Got it.
So technically, the dire wolf is not undead in Norse mythology. I think it was probably just an excuse to be like, why haven't we seen one of these before?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, because it was dead.
So,
Back to Sakaar. Back to Sakaar.
What else do we have to talk about on Sakaar, though?
Colosseum, the escape. It's all so good, and I have pumps.
Well, take us through. Give us some pumps.
Please. The entire battle in the Colosseum, besides the
Yes.
background CGI, is a blast.
yeah, it's so much fun.
I love the interactions between Thor and Hulk. I love when Thor is punching him and he's like, "You're embarrassing me. I told him we were friends."
Yeah.
That whole back and forth. And side note, we haven't even talked about Korg yet.
yeah, Korg.
Yeah.
Who was
Korg is
also,
fantastic.
again, almost my super pump.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love when they address the relationship that Thor had with his hammer. When
Oh my gosh.
they address the stupidity of it,
Mm-hmm.
where he's just like, I would throw it and it would help me fly and go into space. It's like, so you rode the hammer?
It sounds like you had a pretty intimate relationship with his hammer.
Which this movie does a really good job of poking fun at some of the things that we've set up in the past in a
Yeah.
good way. Some of it they just retconned and it didn't
Yeah.
make a lot of sense. But I love in the play when the little frost giant boy comes out and he's like, ah! He comes in, he's like, Loki, my young frost giant, and it just talks about how stupid it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing with the hammer. They just poked fun at it. But I love the fight scene, and I was waiting for that moment where Thor was going to be independent of the hammer.
Yeah.
And I love when his eyes become electricity.
Same.
And he fights with that power.
Yep.
I
Same.
love that. I love the effect of it. I love the idea of it. Does he just try harder, and that's why he has lightning power now?
I interpreted it as he was, for the first time in a very long time, in actual genuine mortal danger of Hulk punching his head inside out. And it was kind of force school on Yavin 4, give them rocks and stack them up. When they can't do it, the force will activate, kind of a thing. I mean, it's flimsy. It's 100% flimsy.
Well, and to me, the hammer is kind of portrayed as a crutch. In this, where it's like that was never the source of your power. And so I think for the first time, it's someone like Watson and Sherlock who finally ditches the cane,
which I hate in Sherlock as well,
and says, I need to, or else I'm gonna die. So I was fine with that.
It just feels to me like a surprise third act superpower.
Well,
but it is though. That's the thing. But to me,
I just don't like those.
No, I don't either. And I would be really bothered by it if. To me, it feels like this movie up front is like, hey, I know, but it's going to be awesome. And that's, to me, the tone that this movie takes with a lot of the things that feel like tropes or feel weird, almost as though they're in there to be awesome and for no other reason.
I understand. And I get that. And I love this movie, but that feels like a cop-out.
It totally does.
And I don't know if we have the authority to say it is a cop-out, but it definitely feels like a cop-out of just like, hey, you know what? It's so fun. Everything's jokey. The stakes are low. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, my only thing is, in my opinion, and I'm with you. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand that like there are very weak plot elements used only as springboards to other plot elements. Yeah. But something that this movie does to me so well is just kind of really attempt to bring Thor to a place where he is interesting again.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying that if you are bothered by these things, because I'm also bothered by these things, but it just does such a good job of making Thor interesting that I'm just saying for me, am totally willing to forgive all of the little things. But I'm not saying don't talk about them because I agree with them.
And I'm absolutely willing to forgive them too. Like this is totally one of those movies that is so much better than the sum of its parts. And it really hangs together in spite of itself.
Well, I think what I'm more saying is that's just why I'm not noticing them. Gotcha. It's because I'm getting so wrapped up in like how happy I am that I actually like Thor now that I'm just not even noticing these things until we're talking about them. You know what I mean?
Well, and one of the things about this fight scene where he gets the electricity eyes and this new power.
About the Coliseum.
The Coliseum. My super pump walking away from the movie, not in retrospect, but after the theaters, was they introduced this in the middle of the movie, not the final act. Yeah. Because if he would have gotten on the Rainbow Bridge and the first time we saw that, it would have been Wonder Woman. And like, oh, really? That's cool that he found this new power.
Yeah.
But he introduced us in the middle. So then by the end of the climax, we're like, oh, he's about to go Thunder Boy on him.
That's actually a good point.
It was so refreshing to not have that new power introduced in the third act.
Have you given your super pump for this movie, or was that it? Okay. I do want to just buzz through the end of Sakaar with a couple sentences. The escape is a huge pump for me, pretty much front to back.
The devil's anus.
The devil's anus, all of that. Interactions with Loki, Banner turning back to Banner from Hulk.
Oh, that's a great scene.
It's a great scene. And their conversations when they're running through the town and it's the Hulk festival.
Every time that Thor says, hey, okay, big guy, sun's getting real low. Okay, sun's getting real low. He's like, stop saying that.
It's so
incredible.
Good.
That's so funny.
And Banner and Valkyrie together when they're just like, I feel like I know. It's also fun. I want to pump specifically, just stop and pump on Loki and Banner in the room where he's like, I was just talking to him and he's thinking about killing all of us. And Thor comes in with one of the funniest moments in the whole movie, which is when he talks about
snake.
When I was little, he turned into a snake and he knows how much I love snakes. And I picked him up and he turned around and he said, it's me. And
he's like, I was 7.
It's so good. But yeah, the whole escape is great. So much fun. And like a lot of action, but ultimately what it leads us to is we're back on Asgard.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, because we've skipped over my super pump.
Whoa, hit me.
Moses in the form
okay.
of Heimdall.
Heimdall's your super pump?
Oh, Heimdall is so dope. I want a Heimdall spin-off solo movie of this Heimdall.
I just
with
wish the B plot had been Heimdall instead of Hela just walking through Asgard.
Yep.
It's true. But Heimdall communicating to Thor, Heimdall leading the people out. Yeah. We don't know where he is.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's been exiled for treason. But seeing him parade through it, because I had a few things that I could have super pumps in, but every time Heimdall was on the screen, I was just glued in.
Well, and I felt like Heimdall felt dangerous in this movie.
Yes.
Yep.
Which was cool. Instead of just like slow moving sentinel.
Yeah.
Like he was actually like a guardian of the people.
He was a guardian. He was a guardian. He was a leader. and he was leading this rebellion of the true Asgardians.
Yep.
And he was their protector.
Yep.
And it was something I needed.
Yep.
Because Heimdall's always been that character that you're like, come on, give me more of this.
Yeah.
And I felt like they could have given us more. It should have been the main B plot, but I felt like they did give us enough where I was like, all right, now we're getting there. Now we're getting to my sweet spot.
No, that's awesome.
So yeah, super pumped.
Cool. So I want to talk about Asgard because my super pump is somewhere in here. Spoiler alerts. But essentially, it's all just race to the finish and battle.
Well, how much time do we have to do another dump on when they're going to Asgard and they're flying up the Devil's Anus?
Yeah.
Where Banner's flying the plane and Thor's like, all right, I gotta go. And they're going to fight different ships and crash them. Where I was like, they're jumping on the ship and then crashing the ship. That's very risky.
Yeah.
They could go down with the ship.
Yeah. That felt another one of those moments where it's like, we get it.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Turn your brain off. Like it.
But I actually don't think that scene's fun outweighs the weirdness of it.
That's what I'm saying.
Actually,
I think that's what they were going for. They just missed it on that one.
I agree with you.
It was really hard to watch.
I agree with you.
It wasn't fun for me. It just seemed like, this seems very cartoony, not comic booky, cartoony.
I agree with that.
So we've already talked through some individual elements like lightning bolt Thor and like the background of the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Asgard in Act 3.
So when we get to Asgard, I just want to the biggest plot points are really Valkyrie getting her suit back and kind of stepping it back into the role of a Valkyrie and not just a woman kind of named Valkyrie for some reason.
Where'd he find that suit?
Banner becoming in the storeroom. The Asgardian storeroom
He
that
just
has
ran back. He was
everything.
like, hey, I found this.
And the giant cannon.
Odin's treasury. That's the room of requirement, essentially.
Yeah.
That's good.
That was nice. Banner's back to Hulk.
Yeah.
And everybody's all together for this fight. Loki returns with the ship to essentially evacuate and take the Asgardians off for the death of Asgard and because of Hela's evil.
I'm going to interrupt you really quick. Loki has the arc in this movie.
Yeah.
Loki has the arc that mirrors Odin's arc because Odin's whole character says, I did horrible things in the past, but I can choose today to be a good person.
Yeah.
And that is Loki's arc. I just wish we had something from Thor. Anyway.
Sure. Yeah. And actually, I do want to say about Loki. To me, this is Loki at his best in this movie. Just as an interesting character to watch, and as a fan of Tom Hiddleston's portrayal, this is the best movie if you want.
It was
prime
what Dark
Loki.
World tried to do, which is like we need Loki's help, but we don't trust him.
Agreed. Now, what I do want to say is we've arrived at my super pump.
Okay.
And my super pump is it's a sequence of time. And it starts when Hela has him pinned to the wall and his eyes light up, and it ends when the credits roll. This is every single character at the best that we have seen them in the entirety of the MCU. This fight scene on the bridge is Loki at his best. It's Thor at his best. It's Hulk at his best. It's all of these people being so cool, such good fighting, so interesting. Yeah. And to me, it all starts at the moment when Thor jumps down and the army is rising up to meet him, and Immigrant Song, callback from the beginning, starts to play again. Yeah. And I think I watched that whole thing just going, yes. Yeah. And I think I just repeated that until the movie ended.
This movie really does bookend the opening
it does.
really well. Yeah. And I love that the climax is this was never about stopping Ragnarok. This was about causing it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did not expect that.
No.
That was cool.
And the dialogue of just, I'm the goddess of death. What are you the god of again? Ugh. And that interaction where it flashes to boom.
What are you the god of? The god of hammers?
Anthony Hopkins. Just giving him that last reprimand that he needed. I ate it up so hard. I needed
so
it.
Dude,
good. I have since watched just that scene. Like I have since gone back and been like, fast forward. Andy's flying through the air. Here we go. And just watch the battle. It is Loki attacks with the helmet. We've got Heimdall just doing his Heimdall thing. We've got Valkyrie double swords. Don't even worry about. There's fireworks. There's no reason for the fireworks.
Always
it's
fireworks.
Stupid. It's really dumb that there's fireworks into it. They don't even appear again later.
Well, it makes sense because that's from his
They're from his birthday ship.
Yeah, his birthday ship.
It's my birthday. we see Hulk's green blood for the first time in the MCU.
Yeah.
It is that scene is compacted the most fun I've had in any MCU movie.
I love the play on the audience where Bruce Banner's trying not to turn back into Hulk because he says, if I turn back, I might not ever be able to be Banner again. But he realizes with the dire wolf that I need to step in. And so he has that moment where he's like, hey, you want to know how you know me? Jumps off the bridge. And we've seen it so many times where he turns into Hulk and he just...
I actually want to dump that he's not dead.
I actually want to dump that they did that at all. Like
Really?
that's another moment that to me feels like Valkyrie falling off the ramp of her ship,
I
where it's
agree
just
with
like
that.
you are purposefully undercutting your dramatic moment and purposefully lowering your stakes so that people can just go, "Huh, what a fun movie!" Like, that's the thing. Like, it's so cynical from an editing, from a writing standpoint. Let your heroes be heroes.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, we don't have to every time they try and do something, we don't have to go, man, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
And the movie doesn't have to go, yeah, we get it. It's dumb.
I had two possible super dumps, and the one that I didn't choose was there were moments in this movie I thought could have been way more dramatic.
Yeah.
And actually pulled our heartstrings a little bit, but instead they played it off as a joke, very similar to Guardians 2.
Yep.
And one of them, for me, cutting his hair. I thought that should have been a scene where he's basically like a slave.
Yeah.
And he is like just standing there teary-eyed and they're like ripping his hair apart and he's realizing I'm getting sold into slavery.
It's a loss of his Asgardian identity.
Yeah. But instead they played it off as Stan Lee's cameo, which I laughed at.
Sure.
But
I
again,
laughed at Bruce hitting the bridge too,
there's
but
so
I
many
don't like
things.
The
it.
effect of Stan Lee's like buzzsaw on his hands looks like something from Spy Kids 3D.
No, it doesn't. It looks like Jimmy Neutron the movie.
Yeah,
the thing that fixes his hair.
absolutely does. It
It
absolutely
looks like Jimmy
does.
Neutron the movie every time.
But again, I think that's one of those things where if you pick up, like you take just the Hulk fall, I love it. You take just the haircut, that's funny. But when you put it all together, you know, like the one that I really got out in the movie was when he threw the ball and it hit him back in the face.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Like, I get that this is a comedy, but we don't need that much comedy.
Yeah.
And when did Thor become Star-Lord? Like he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the one thing I do is say I want to retroactively change something I said earlier in the episode because I think I said it the wrong way and I want to be very clear.
Yeah.
Because what I said was that at the beginning this movie is like, we know, but it's going to be awesome. I want to take that back. What this movie does that redeems everything for me is that this movie is unapologetically awesome. It does not say up front, like, we know it's weird, but just bear with us. Instead, I feel like it's just like, here's all the weird and we dump it out and we're okay with it.
Yeah.
And that's what redeems it, is because even for me in the moments, in its lowest moments, it is still fully self-aware of what it is and still fully knows that that's where it's taking you.
Yeah.
And I feel like what I said earlier made it sound like I thought the movie was apologizing for being about comic books. It's not at all.
I feel like there are moments that, to me, it's really just Banner on the bridge, where it's just like, look, we know it's stupid. He turns into a big monster.
See, I didn't get that vibe at all.
Really?
Not from that scene, no.
It felt like an opportunity for a joke that shouldn't have been there. That's all. I feel like reading into it too much is a discredit to somebody that personally I think is really brilliant. And so I think that it was probably just a poorly placed joke.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Well, and if you're keeping track, I haven't given my official super dump. I've
Whoa.
mentioned
Do it.
But my super dump, and maybe you can clear it up. So maybe this is just me throwing out in the wind. But what I came out of the movie most frustrated and confused about was Anthony Hopkins delivers the line, "She draws her power from Asgard, same as you."
Yeah, that's
What?
weird. That doesn't make sense.
We never knew that.
The only thing I can think of is like Asgard's a people, so maybe he doesn't have to have the planet of Asgard.
So then neither Hela would.
Hela
But maybe
doesn't
she
either.
didn't know. That's my own, literally the only thought
I
I
actually
have.
really hate
is-
that Asgard's not a place, it's a people.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really
That's
make a
so
lot of
like
sense.
heavy-handed, cheesy. We haven't gotten that.
No, see, I like that. It just doesn't make sense to me about drawing power from.
Well, we haven't even gotten that idea of Asgard as this like nationalistic identity.
Yeah.
Well, if it was, that's what
Before
I'm.
right before like the end of the third act.
If it was in the first one and beyond, I wouldn't have a problem with it because I actually like the idea of like moving Asgard and putting it somewhere else, maybe on Earth. I actually really am kind of in love with that. But
At one point in the comics, Asgard is destroyed and Thor reconstructs it. Not kidding. I think it's like 3 feet above the ground in Oklahoma.
really,
Yep.
Cool.
that's funny.
3 feet?
Yeah.
That's it?
I imagine it's going on the cliff.
Yeah.
In
Yeah, that's
Norway.
totally where Asgard's going to be.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my thought.
Well,
Hopefully they fix the green screen before the next one.
and the other thing, and we can choose not to get into this if it's going to take too long, but the confusion of realms and planets.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got into that a little bit in Dark World as well, but
Yeah.
like at this point they're either interchangeable or they're not, and there's no way to tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't love that either.
It made this big universe that to this date has been pretty swallowable. Is that a word, swallowable? It's been
Not the way you pronounced it, but sure.
been able to be swallowed.
Yeah. Okay.
Swallibable, I think, is the word
Swallibable.
that you're looking for.
But this convoluted it.
Yeah.
And it made it a lot more confusing. And now we're kind of scratching our heads.
It
like,
is.
Man,
It's
I don't
because we
understand
wanted
this.
to make Asgardians of the galaxy.
Yeah, well, and in this movie, Asgard is referred to both as a planet and a realm.
Yep.
Is it referred to as a planet?
Yeah.
Both.
Thor says she'll
Both in
destroy
the
the
same movie.
entire planet.
Both in the same movie, which is
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
But I think that it's time to move on to
rate
ratings because we're running long on this one because there's just a lot to, and there's different. We've had a lot more differing opinions in this one than I was expecting.
And there's so many things we didn't even cover.
Oh yeah,
There's
no,
so much that
I feel like this was a skim of this movie, which is fine. But here at Two Chunks and a Hunk, we have a board certified rating system. TM. It's called the Scientific Cinema Scale. I'm gonna run that by you right now. What a terrible way to start the rating. We're keeping it. I like it. The best thing we can ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. The next best thing we can ever say about a movie, buy it. Spend your bucks, spend your cash, toss it out. The next best thing we can ever say about a movie, rent it. Spend small amount of bucks for small amount of watch. The next best thing we can ever say about a movie is stream it.
Yes.
If you've got bucks allocated for stream
Use
and it's on there, do that.
don't think twice.
Other than that, don't. The next best and second to last thing, second to worst thing we can ever say about a movie, forget it. No. You're better off if you just pretend this movie does not exist.
Didn't happen.
And lastly, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie, God hath forsaken us. So who wants to go first? I'll do it. Guys, this movie for me,
Yeah.
and I did not think it would be this, but it is. This movie is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. It is unbelievably fun. I love actually what it does to a lot of characters, hopefully moving forward, and that there's some consistency there. But most of all, I think I could watch this once a week and never get tired of it.
You basically have watched it once.
Yeah,
a
I've
week.
seen
If
it
you've
5
watched
times
it
since
5
theaters.
times since it came out on Blu-ray.
No. I've seen, including theaters.
Oh,
I've seen
okay.
it 5 times.
So there's been like maybe 2 weeks since the second week of April that you haven't watched this movie. I think I'm going to give this movie a rent it. This is one of those movies that coming out of the theater, I would have said is maybe the best thing, movie, picture, person, landscape, anything that I have ever seen. And I think if you rent it and only watch it enough to super enjoy it, but don't watch it enough to really, really think about it and analyze it, you're going to love this movie. So I'm going to go with rent it.
Dude, it was the complete opposite for me.
Really?
I left, and if you'd asked me right outside the theater, I would have said 7.5.
Really?
But
out of the theater, I would have said 15 out of 10.
watching it over and over again, I have liked it more literally every time.
Completely inverse.
Yeah,
That's so weird.
I'm with Jordan. The more I watch, the more I like it because the more when I go into an MCU movie, I'm so focused on this universe that they've built and how it's affecting everything. And this movie really jars some things.
Yeah.
So walking out, I was just like, I don't know how I feel about these realms and planets and the changing Thor's character so much.
Yeah.
But going back and just having fun with it, it's so enjoyable.
Yep.
It's super funny. It's super fun. It's got some incredible action sequences. It makes Thor such a better character than he's been in the past. So for me, this is a buy it. This is a full price buy it. I think you should own it. I want to watch it multiple times. It's the chasm between me liking and enjoying it and what I think it does to the MCU that doesn't give it an own it, don't let it buy the poster.
Yeah,
but
I
to
feel
me,
that.
it's a full price buy.
Also, genuinely, I was like, I would own that poster too because I bet it looks dope.
The
Whatever
poster
it
is
is.
super cool.
Yeah.
We do have one shout out this week, and that is going to go to Colton Kingston.
Colton Kingston.
Colton emailed us pumps and dumps for Thor Ragnarok, and in the subject of his email, he actually included the 2 dots over the O. Is it an umlaut?
It's an umlaut.
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 We have an umlaut out.
Umlaut.
Colton's rating for the movie is own it, don't let it buy that poster.
Yeah, boy.
His super pump is Cate Blanchett as Hela.
Nice.
Obviously, she's fantastic. Super dump is that we find out about Hela, the deaths of the Valkyries, the true history of how Asgard came to be in the 3rd movie.
Yeah.
That is so,
Great
and
point.
Colton's right on with that. It's such a retcon
Yeah,
to
it totally
have
is.
all that new information dump. It's the, if we were to look at this Thor trilogy as a movie, that is the mysterious 3rd act superpower that we get.
Yeah, that's a good point. We also have another shout out on Insta Story, which was Wayne Briggs, who was watching via computer our show. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you,
Thanks, Wayne.
Well,
Post rating scenes.
Oh yeah, there are
Perhaps?
2. They see they're on the Asgard ship. They see maybe Thanos' ship, probably Thanos' ship.
Yeah.
And then the other one is just a fun one with Jeff Goldblum doing more Goldblum stuff.
love it. And it's a drop.
It's a tie.
Can I also, can I give a pump real quick? I'm so sorry that it took this long. So glad he didn't get his eye back.
yeah.
Yeah. the Thor,
For a moment,
yeah.
I thought Odin was going to be like, and for your bravery, I restore your eye. And I was going to be like,
I'm afraid. I'm terrified he's going to get it back somehow in
Terrified.
Infinity War.
I hate
and
that
I don't
he
want
will.
it.
Oh, Doctor Strange is going to do it, and he's going to.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
I want him to keep the eye patch forever.
Keep the eye patch forever.
It's so much
way,
cooler.
guys.
It gives us so much
So much
character.
cooler.
Like Loki says, it suits you.
Hey,
100%.
Act 1 of Infinity War, he gets the eye back. I'm calling it. As soon as he sees Doctor Strange. That's a
man.
great segue. Stay tuned later this week. We're going to be releasing a special mini episode called
Wouldn't it be nice?
No,
It's called
do more.
what?
Do more.
What's it called?
Wouldn't it be nice if we were Marvel taking all the world with Kevin Feige?
So it's called.
That's how you pronounce his last
I have
name.
no.
Oh.
If there's one thing that we know, it is not how to pronounce his last
His
name.
last name is pronounced Fieri. It's Guy Fieri.
Kevin Fieri.
Fieri.
So we're releasing an episode later this week called "Wouldn't It Be Nice," where we're going to talk about things that we would love to see happen in Infinity War, and we're also going to be presenting our ranked list of all 18
Yep.
Marvel movies
Yep.
that are before Infinity War.
Yep.
So keep your peepers peeped for that.
Please. Yeah, no, go ahead and peep those peepers for me if you guys don't mind. And so for 2 chunks and a hunk, peep those peepers.
Peep those peepers.
Peep those poopers.
Well, the episode's over, but since you're still hanging out here, why don't we toss some information your way?
If you want to be the first to know when we drop new content, like us on Facebook at 2 Chunks and a Hunk. Subscribe to us on YouTube or subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you want a shout out on our next podcast, then #officialchunky.
Yeah.
That's CHUNKY.
That's true. That's true. Well, we're done here, but I guess if you want to stay, I mean, we can just
Yeah, keep hanging out.
What was your favorite part of that movie that we just saw? Did you like it?
I bet they did. I bet they did.